Hello and welcome. You tuned to The Leg Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast. I'm here with the usual suspects. Are we even a podcast anymore? Or are we morphed to a TV show? What are we calling ourselves these days?
Not sure if we're on Spotify anymore, Thaddeus. It's a good question.
No, maybe The Leg Up's grown to a TV show, Paul. What do you think?
Grown.
Grown, yeah, maybe grown's a bit of a stretch. Yeah. Merry Christmas, boys, by the way.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, very festive with the tree here, so it's very nice.
How good?
Big plans?
Yeah, to get through.
It's
always good to get through Christmas.
Well, we can have a bet on Boxing Day, can't we?
Yeah. Not that far away.
No, exactly. And we're going to be touching on 4 races at Pukekohe very shortly. Steve, will tell us about last week, what happened. We're at Trentham, weren't we? Darcy Labella, I suppose.
Yeah, again, a couple of tracks that were hindered by wet weather and downgrade in tracks. I think Trentham came up a genuine heavy on the cusp of 8 and 9. But Darcy Labella outstanding, the Manawatu Challenge Stakes. She's just an absolute ripper. It was her 11th win from only 17 race starts. Another Group 2 to her CV. Look, there were some anxious moments at the top of the straight. Jonathan Riddell was just boxed in at a period around about the 450 mark and just had to push his way through, you could say, on what is not an overly big mare, Darcy Labella. So, but she's courageous. And look, Coventina Bay had the momentum down the outside when Jonathan was looking to pierce through a gap, and you could argue around about the 250 that Coventina Bay had the sway on her, the momentum. But look, she's just a winner, as I mentioned, Darcy Labella. Again, I'm still a little bit disappointed she's not heading towards the Telegraph, just on numbers, etc. She would have been a minimum top 3 in the Telegraph, just on my assessment. But you can't argue with Alan Sharrock. And I was intrigued by the comments of Jonathan Riddell post the Manawatu Challenge Stakes and saying that she just raced a touch keen. And that's one sign of many that a horse is just coming to the end of her preparation. So, look, she'll spell now, and we may see her in the autumn, but the main target is the Hawke's Bay Carnival. And the Manawatu Cup, I just want to pot that race in terms of form looking forward for over Christmas and New Year when you're looking at staying events. Just be very cautious when you're diving into the form in the next few weeks, because it was on a heavy track and you're hoping that the weather's starting to come right, and that may be the last that we see of genuine heavy tracks. But also a horrible rating. The speed rating was -4 lengths. So just not sure what to make. Yes, there was the odd horse that you could pinpoint. Maybe obviously is Platinum Invader, who doesn't like a dark cloud and was making his best run in the IG. But just the overall form. I just want to be a bit sceptical about the whole thing going forward.
Okay. Let's head up to Hamilton and say good morning to Brendan Popplewell. You've got a few treats for the stockings, a few stocking stuffers for us. Merry Christmas, BP.
Merry Christmas. Let's thought we'd get into the theme as we're so close to the big day, and of course a massive time for our industry, isn't it? Because it is a busy period through Boxing Day right up to New Year's Day, all the race meetings in between. We've got the West Coast circuit with the harness racing. We'll be there for the gallops a little bit later on through the early part of January. So, look, it's a lot of hot points around the country have their day in the sun too, not just the big meetings that we will have out of Pukekohe and Te Rapa this year, of course, with no Ellerslie. So, lot to look forward to, and I'm sure those that are in those holidays hot spots, Taupo, for instance, a race meeting that you need to get there at least 2 to 3 hours before the first race, so you can get that premium spot out on the grass, so you can be able to see the horses go past. So yeah, a lot of great race meetings out there over this Christmas period, and certainly do love it.
Yeah, Taupo this time of the year, you got to leave 2 or 3 hours just to get to the supermarket.
That is true. That is true. It's a busy time, isn't it, Steve? I mean, how many thoroughbred meetings do we have across that sort of 10, 12-day period?
I lost count. I know there's one day, I think it's like the 29th from memory, that may not have a thoroughbred domestic meeting, but outside that you've got meetings left, right and centre. You lose track of what actual day it is, whether it's a Monday or Tuesday
it becomes
or a
irrelevant,
Thursday. It becomes really irrelevant. It's all based on the actual days in terms of dates. So, it'd be intriguing to see all these markets finish up, because they're going to be open for, when we get to Boxing Day, they're going to be open for at least 4 or 5 days. So they might become fairly static come actual race day, and knowing that the track conditions are looking okay, but we'll touch on that short term.
Also, we've got plenty of promotions as well. We'll touch on that later on.
Sure.
But there are plenty of promotions all the way through the holiday period.
You boys have been busy, have you?
We're looking to help punters out a wee bit.
As you tend to do. BP, come back to you, please. Maiden of the week time. Where did you land this week?
Yeah, I went to the first race last Saturday out of Te Rapa, and I did like the race. I think there's a lot to look out for. See, the second horse, Bitcoin, was very good from back in the field. It was tailed off its last, and it's about to work through them. I think the winner bounces out of a previous maiden of the week race in Keen as a Bean. So we identified that runner as a horse that was working home last time, and Keen as a Bean was able to get the job done here. Bitcoin very good though, finishing into second position. I know Hammer Time they like as a horse, potentially trying to get to a race like the Derby. Might be that type of horse that we can keep tabs on now going beyond 1600 metres. So there's a bit to unfold around this race. Keen as a Bean the winner, and a couple of other nice types in behind.
You can find these races, can't you, Steve? BP, and he's just alluded to that, but Keen as a Bean, good effort, and the second horse as well was eye-catching.
Yeah, just firstly on Bitcoin, for the Forsman stable, not nominated for a Derby, but there's opportunity to chuck a late nom in between now and March, but being by Tarzino out of a reduced choice mare, it's got the pedigree to get over a trip and one to follow. But just on the winner, being by Darcy Brahma out of Keenley.
Oh, yes.
She won 3 or 4 races for the Oak Stud, so it looks like a homebred there. And she was by Kaninsky, who the majority of the progeny by Kaninsky were horses that like to get over 1,1400 metres, and very rarely did they get over 1,600. But Keenley kind of knocked the trend there and won over 2,200 metres. So there's a little bit of pedigree to suggest it's going to get over ground in terms of what the mother did. And just weighing up the 4 1,600 metre events on the day at Te Rapa, the Open Mile won by Inserio, and also the 3-year-old stakes race, the Eulogy, won by Polygon. Now, they rated significantly higher than Keen as a Bean, but if you're weighing up the 65 that was won by Regazzo in the last race of the program, there was only half a length separating Regazzo's performance to Keen as a Bean. So, yeah, look, it was on the clock. It was solid enough for a maiden class, but I think you've got to trust the eye as well where they came from.
In terms of Bitcoin, you'd much rather be on the horse as opposed to the digital currency at the moment, wouldn't you?
You've done your dough in the last year, haven't you?
Yeah,
It was like 60% or something.
big time, yeah, 2/3.
Yeah.
Get on Bitcoin the horse.
Not Bitcoin the coin.
No,
It's not even a coin, is it?
it's a digital currency.
Coin. Yeah, very good. Okay. We'll leave that one. Righto, we better push on because we've got 4 big races we want to preview, all at Pukekohe on Boxing Day. But first, Steve, track conditions. What are we looking at? Because there's been a bit of rain about. I think we're heavy today at Matamata for the Friday.
Yeah, it looks like the rain's surrounded Hamilton, and Auckland might have got away with it. I looked at the current track conditions at Pukekohe. It's a good 4, the rail in the true position. It looks like they're going to irrigate the track later on today/tonight. And the forecast between now and Boxing Day looks very, very good in the Auckland region. So maybe pushing on a 5 early doors come Boxing Day, but we should be playing on a good 4 for the majority of the day.
Okay, we'll run us through the Zabeel Classic, the Cambridge Stud Zabeel Classic, Group 1 over the 2,050 metres. Where did we land on the favouritism here?
Look, so we've gone up Cinerama, rated a $3 chance in front of Prise de Feur. Prise de Feur, you see they're trading at $3.60. In fact, holds 4 times more money than Cinerama does Prise de Feur. And Prise de Feur's quote on opening was $4. It's now trading at $3.60, $3.50. Then you've got the third favour there in Defibrillate at $5.50, now 4.8. And so a little bit of money around Defibrillate just in the last 2 to 3 hours since entering the office. Polly Gray at a $6 quote for Chris Waller, Michael McNabb. Cheaper than Divorce double-figure quotes around 12. La Sabalier 16s, Harlech 18, and the mare the best of the rest at 26. So I think the main key talking point around the trading thus far, Thaddeus, is the move around number 1, Prise de Feur, at $4 into $3.50. And I mentioned it probably holds around roughly 4 to 5 times the amount of money v the favourite in Cinerama.
Okay, well, talk to us about the speed map here, Steve, because maybe that'll explain some of the reason behind the fact for the move for the second and third favourites here, but particularly the second favourite.
Yeah, it was just a weird map. Obviously, that's has to be swung around the other way because we're going going right-handed. But Polly Gray, who's drawn barrier 1, so Polly Gray, if you can swing it round, Polly Gray will hug the rail. And I've got her as the default leader here from that ace draw. I thought Craig Zachary on the mare and Sam Spratt on Slave to Love would show intent potentially and wipe out what looks to be on paper sticky gates. You see their Slave to Love and the mare. I think they'll come across and challenge Polly Gray and try and get into that position of maybe in the top 4 slot. With Prise de Fer, with Opie Bosson back aboard, he just maps ideal. And depending on possible action from out wide, I've got him around that 1 out 1 back position, Prise de Fer. Cheaper than Divorce, Cinerama and Defibrillate. But they all map a touch worse off the midfield, and where they actually sit is a little bit of a question mark at the back of the field. But you see there with La Sabalea, they should be all fighting out that last third position. Again, where they sit and find themselves rail off the rail remains to be seen. But I think the overall summary when it comes to the map is the tempo, and I've got it moderate at best. As I mentioned, Polygrey default leader purely on its draw, and it has shown tactical speed in recent times in Australia, which we'll touch on in more depth. But yeah, just a muddling old race where they could really put on the brakes halfway through the running, and we have seen this in previous years when it comes to weight for age 2,000 metre races in the North Island.
Okay, BP, look, deserve a Group 1 win for Prise de Fer last time out, got its Group 1, and there's been a move in the market, but Cinerama's certainly flying as well.
Yeah, look, and it's all going to come down to the map because it really is a bit of a mess, isn't it? And you've mentioned it there, Stephen, around weight for age 2,000 metre races. Well, just this race alone, it has been a race where those that have been in or near lead last year, obviously Tiptronic, and a number of other years where that horse that's been in front and controlling the race has been able to get away with Blue Murder. Is there something else there that can help this race? Soldier Boy, what does he do potentially from a better gate to be put into the race? And Defibrillate, maybe? I was just trying to find something else there to help our tempo out here, Hunty, because as you said, if it's not there, it is only going to be very moderate speed.
Yeah, 100%. As I mentioned, I thought Slave to Love, as we mentioned, Sam Spratt, she can hunt the horses out of the machine. At times, she's shown a little bit of speed, and I think it's knowing the fact that it's drawn barrier 10 and they go, well, do we just want to default and go back and be last off what we say could be a real stop and start affair. I think there's a great opportunity for Sam to show some intent in the first furlong or two, and they could possibly lead, but if not, sit outside Polygrey.
Okay, BP, well, let's have a look at the Captain Cook Stakes, because Prise de Fer was very good last time out. 1,600 metres, obviously, this day, but steps to the 2,000 and has been competitive in the past, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Look, and, you know, you go through his efforts in the Livermore and those type of races, and all the other 13 Group 1s that he's competed in over, you know, different distances from 1,400 metres up to the 2,000 metre bracket. And look, this was just a really good ride, wasn't it, by Michael McNabb? He got on the back of the right horse, which was Agon, tracked into it, got into a slipstream, and then had the last shot at running him down. As much as we were probably expecting Agon to really get going here and put the race away, Prise de Fer was the one that bombed them all, and he has been in good form this season. I mean, he's done this. It is, what was it, 2 starts ago when Cinerama nearly got him, but he still won and got the job done from coming from back in the field. As much as it's hard to knock him, and he's got his first Group 1 after 13 goes. Can he get his next Group 1? Well, the money is saying that yes, he can, with Opie aboard, and I still want to keep with Cinerama because of what she's done, but again, we keep coming back to where does she end up? Could it be a real sticky watch for predominantly most of this race if you're on Cinerama, but we just know that she's in that right piece of form at the moment with her being in foal, and with what she did obviously last time to the races, she was just too good, and her first up run was terrific behind Prise de Fer.
Yeah, there's no doubt Cinerama's flying though, Paul, to be fair. She's humming, in that last start win. And the Kelai Zuzu was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
She is humming. The only concern is the lack of early money.
Yeah, that is unusual, isn't it? I was thinking something very similar.
Yeah, I mean, she's a super racehorse, and she thoroughly deserves the favouritism here. But the fact that we've taken quite a bit of cash on Prise de Fer and seen the price come in from 4 to 350 just has me sort of thinking. I'm not sure. Yeah. I'll have a look at the markets on Boxing Day and see if we get a wee bit of cash for Cinerama, and if so, then certainly that makes me a lot more confident.
Yeah,
and as you say, that was a super win in the Kelai Susan.
Yeah, and Sablia was good in second there as well, but I would say Taranaki haven't come to the party yet, and that potentially is a little bit unusual around a Alan Sharrock favourite.
Very much so. I mean, Stephen mentioned Darcy Labella at the beginning of the show, and they weren't shy in backing Darcy Labella. So I'm just sitting and waiting in terms of Cinerama. in the Zabeel. But the boys mentioned it's going to be a muddling race, so do we actually look outside the square in terms of a chance in this race? Prise de Feu, look, picked up that Group 1 with the victory in the Captain Cook, and there have been a number of times this season where we've overlooked Te Ako runners, and I'm not saying we've overlooked Prise de Feu this time, but I'm trying to look somewhere else, and I thought Cheaper Than Divorce. I know she hasn't really sort of shown the sort of form that she did last season when she won the Thompson and the was it the Waikato Cup and runner-up in the City of Auckland Cup. So if she can get back to that, and I think they've been encouraging the 2 runs she's had this campaign so far. So I
the
thought
2 zeros could be a little bit misleading, you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. And in a muddling race, she might get away with a wee bit of murder. So she's at, what, $12 at the moment. So I thought Cheaper Than Divorce is worth a little stab.
Yeah, okay, $12, don't mind it. Steve, Cinerama, she's humming, isn't she, to be fair?
Yeah, I thought that, look, the overall speed rating out of the Te Rapa Victory, the Kelo Zuzu, was 2 lengths below par, but I want to trust the eye. Look, she found the perfect spot. Craig Grylls got the trail in a race that was just run at even tempo. She came off heels at the top of the straight. But her best work was her last 2 furlongs. You look at her last 2 furlongs, 12.03 and 12.39, both well above par for individual splits when you're comparing it to the class of race. So, yeah, I just loved her work in that last furlong or 2 and through the line, which is always important when you're stepping up over ground, Cinerama. It's a sticky gate, and Craig's got 2 options, because Pukekohe, which I've learnt over the years, is one thing you don't try and do if you're on a back marker is make the move just prior to the turn, or trying to gain momentum and ground on that tight bend. As long as the straight is at Pukekohe, you can lose a lot of momentum, a lot of ground if you're making your move right on the home bend. And horses can get a nice kick that are travelling underneath you. So Craig's got a couple of options. He can go early, and this will come down to tempo mid-race, but he can go early around Cinerama and take off around about the 800 metre mark and put itself in a winning position, a strike rate position, close to Prise de Feu when hitting that home bend. The other option is just be cute and just take a patient assessment on Cinerama, knowing that the pace is solid enough that Craig can just come through them and not look to cover extra ground at the home bend. Be patient and come through the pack in the home turn and the home straight. But I think Craig will just weigh up on the tempo. I don't mind the first option. Take off early, put the horse in the race. We know Cinerama is probably a fraction better and proven at 2,000 metres. Take on Prise de Feu at the top of the straight and challenge him and make it a real ding-donger in the last furlong or 2, because I think Cinerama has that one advantage over Prise de Feu. Not that Prise de Feu, because a lot of people suggest Prise de Feu is vulnerable at 2,000 metres, and that might be the case, but look, I go back to that Canterbury Gold Cup victory in the autumn in Christchurch. Now, that field compared to Saturday's or Monday's assignment is chalk and cheese, but they went very hard in the Canterbury Gold Cup. They went out roughly 9 lengths above par. And he was still the last man standing, Prise de Feu, over 2,000 metres at weight for age at Christchurch. So he can win at a similar level of race off a hot tempo over 1.25 miles. So you could argue, is he going a fraction better this time round as well, 12 months on, when he challenged this particular race at Ellerslie? So, yeah, maybe a touch, but I think the 2,000 metres is just a slight misleading when it comes to Prise de Feu, because he's at a number of placings at Group 1 level, and you can say, look, that's been negated by Opie Bosson and the draw he's going to get a strong 2,000 metres on Monday.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. Well, BP, look, the third favourite, there's been money for it as well, and I want to call Defibrillate potentially slightly underrated, and that win on the Balmerino last time was strong.
I think he is, because his Australian form, I'd say, would have him right in this race, and I think that's the form I want to leverage off, is what he's done out of Australia. I mean, he's arrived here in this country, he's run 3rd at his very first run back, 3rd in a Group 1 and behind Mustang Valley. I mean, yes, I know that all became a bit messy with what happened with the Arrowfield getting put a week out from the Livermore, and they decided to just take the path of going straight to the Livermore, and he finished into third position. Yeah, he was beaten 7.5 lengths. Track was bottomless. It was a heavy 10, and Mustang Valley won by the length of the straight. So I thought it was a very good run from him, and then he backed it up here to win at this venue where he's running in the Group 1 on Monday. He's beaten home the mare. The mare we've seen enough bits and pieces form from that horse as well. Strike the mare at the right time, and the horse has been more than capable in and around Australia in some of those lower graded Cups races. I think he's one of the horses that I'm potentially most scared of for Cinerama punters. I've made Cinerama my top pick, but I've very much got a saver on Defibrillate because I think he's the one that at that price with where he sits I want to be on, and obviously that's moved already. He's under $5 now, is this runner. He's had a good exhibition gallop throughout the week. Warren Kennedy's had a sit on the horse. He takes the ride. We know he's in form. I think there's just enough right ticks in the box to say that he can be a big contender.
100%. Well, I agree with that. Everything you say there around Defibrillate. 11 race wins and still probably underrated, and showed very, very good form in Victoria over the winter. We haven't even mentioned Paul. Now, hang on. We've got Chris Waller with a runner in a Group 1. Hello. Polly Gray.
Polly Gray
makes
back across the side of the Tasman, yeah. Will she get the track that she wants? Okay. She'd love to be running at Matamata today. I'll give her a tip.
She'd swim through that, wouldn't she?
Yeah, look, she's performed very, very well over there in Australia, but I'm not sure she'll get the track that she wants on Boxing Day, so I can understand why there's a wee bit of reluctance early on with punters on backing Polly Gray.
Yeah, what do you think, Steve? Polly Gray? I mean,
I wanted to show this race because she was the leader on this occasion, even though it was 3 starts back. She boxed on well for 4th, but she led on that occasion. That was 1,600 compared to 2,050 metres on Monday. You see there at a $6 price. That's your opening quote. Now, when we priced this market all the way back on Wednesday, there was still, trepidation around rain threatening Monday and what the track conditions potentially might be. But just looking at it, currently a good 4, and as we've touched on early today on the show, is that it's looking like it's going to be no worse than a 5 and potentially a 4 later on race day. So that price has to drift. It just has to drift. And on the back of Pries de Fer firming, Defibrillate has been a firmer today. And Cinerama, look, we'll just have to keep that horse running for the TAB with the action that we've had around the 1 and the 2, the 2 and the 1, which I'm not against. I'm happy to have Cinerama racing for the TAB. A lot can change between now and 48 or so hours time. But with the volume of money around the 1 and the 2 and the 8 keeping safe for the tab, look, Polly Gray has to drift just to tighten up that overall percentage, and it was just no surprise. Her price was the one horse. Her price was going to be greatly affected by track conditions, so she could well and truly start double figures come Monday afternoon. Okay.
BP, summarise the race. It sounds like you're potentially with a favourite here, but is there anything else we need to include in power plays and top 4s, etc. in this year's Zabeel Classic?
Yeah, I think one thing with Polly Gray, I can't deny her class with what she's shown out of Sydney, and look, they've just got the week wrong, haven't they? I mean, the last 3-4 weeks we've had a heavy track conditions that have been in the soft bracket, and now all of a sudden, just like that, it's a good 4 and looking to hold up. So, yeah, look, the plan looked good last week, didn't it, with Polly Gray, and now it's come up a good 4 track condition. Look, I do like Cinerama. Cinerama and Defibrillate are the 2 that I'm leaning towards. Look, I tell you what, the mare's not out of this race, runner number 3, if you're looking for a roughie in the race. And he might be just the other horse that could go forward in the race. To overcome his wide barrier draw, is he a horse from out wide that will look to try and push forward with the lack of tempo in the race? Look, you go over some of his Australian Cups runs, like Lord Mayor's Cup. I mean, he was beaten by Polly Gray by a length and a half. Polly Gray's $6, he's $26 when they clashed, what was it, a year ago, maybe last year it was. So I just think he's one of those horses that's got a little bit lost. He's pushed Defibrillate on this track 2 starts ago on a better surface. He'll get the better track on Boxing Day. I just thought he was a big roughie in the race that has just got a little bit lost in the marketplace, and his form is very good across the Tasman. So, yeah, I thought the mare was the top 4 chance in the race at a price.
Yeah, okay. If you like Defibrillate, you probably do like the mare after that last up run, so Pops might be onto something there at a bit of value. Paul, summation, please, of this year's Zabeel?
Look, I'm going to leave the top of the market alone. I'm going to have a little each way going cheaper than Divorce, hoping that she does bounce back. She
Up to a more suitable trip now as well, right?
Yep, and gets better footing as well. So, yeah, I think she'll run a race.
Yep. Okay.
So, yeah, $12 a win at the moment, $3.30 for a top three.
Cinerama, Steve, in a word?
Yeah. A little bit of pressure on Craig, but he's riding as good as ever, Craig. The difference between his top ride and his bad ride
It's very
is
small.
nothing. It's very, very small. He's so consistent. He's a strong rider. Look, I'd be riding Cinerama as the best horse in the field. And if it's tactically slow up front, put her in the race early before the home straight, put the pressure on the top 2 or 3 on the map and ride her like the best horse. She will be strong come the last furlong. And on the mare, you just go back to that previous, 2 starts back on that second. The mare had to chase that hot speed set up by Quiz Kid. It really did set up for the likes of Defibrillate to come off that neutral position and finish over the top. So even though it finished second, it was probably a stronger performance as the winner, knowing the terms of the race shape.
Okay. Craig Grills never misses the show, by the way. He'll be watching.
Yeah, Christmas, Craig.
Exactly. Righto, race number 7, guys. Shore Wire Ropes, Uncle Remus Stakes. Uncle Remus, a top horse of the late 70s, BP, trained by...
Colin Jennings, and very sad to hear that. Of course, overnight Colin has passed away. I mean, what a gentleman of the game, and he really was an outstanding man to be able to talk to the game about and actually just meet. I mean, he was a real legend of our sport, and to hear that he's passed away is terribly sad news for the family and also for the racing industry. I remember a lot of the times when we used to work at Ellerslie at the back parade ring there, and always used to see Colin turn up because he'd been retired for a little period now, but was always at every single Ellerslie race meeting because he loved to punt. He really did love a bet, and he'd get his position up in the grandstand there, and the club would look after him. And he was just a great man to be able to talk racing about, and I know that there'll be a lot of people affected by his passing this morning with that news coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. Thoughts with his friends and family. A Hall of Famer, Colin Jennings, passing away overnight, so sad news there, Steve. We've got the Uncle Remus now. Talk about hot races. This is a hot one.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd have to say this would challenge the strongest 3-year-old race we've had thus far this season up and down the country. It's headed by Wild Knight at 2.8 and a well-backed favourite, $3 on opening. Is now trading at 2.8 Wild Knight in front of Sacred Satono, who also has been a firm third, 5 into 450. So the punter's very keen at the point end of the market, the 1 and the 2, the 2 and the 1. Desert Lightning at 650 remains the opening price. The Intimidator, 850 and a full point to 7.5. Double figures around Kabuji, Channel Surfer, 10 each of 2. Alfredson and also Mozzolino, $15 each of 2. I'm into win at $18. Da Vinci Bell at 26, sharing the same price as another filly and Academy Award, and Texas the Ranky at 51. So, look, Wild Knight, no surprise, has almost a cult following. This horse, it's gaining momentum. Wild Knight 3 into 280, and Sacred Satono, who's done the business since last 2 starts, 5 into 4.5.
Yeah, well, BP was so impressive this day, wasn't he? People didn't think he was potentially going to be ready to rock and roll here over 1200. And boy, oh boy, he put them away easily in the end.
Look, he did. Well, I think if the team can possibly do it for us here, I think we need to probably watch this race a couple of times. So we'll watch first of all Wild Knight here with what he did, because you're right. Because the expectation was that he wasn't quite ready. I mean, we got that both from jockey and trainer, that his market price was affected by that too. I mean, there was lack of money for him. He ended up pushing out to $3.90. Yet he still got the job done. He still won the race, and he's beaten home. Look, it's a very strong field, and potentially a lot of runners we're going to use for that race that are in this race here coming up on Boxing Day. So if he's won that like he has, what sort of improvements are you going to show second up? I mean, if he improves again, he's the winner of this race, isn't he? I mean, he's $3 into $2.80. That was a super win. It really was, and we've seen how good he's been. His Sarton Memorial victory was terrific. It was one of the 3-year-old wins we've seen so far. So, but I do want to look at the race again if we can, team, around that particular race, because there is a lot of other form lines we need to break down out of the race. And Look, if there's one horse in this race is at $31. I mean, how is Davici Bell $31? I mean, she should have run third or fourth in this race. Now let's watch the horse in the blue cap, which is back on the inside here. Cameron Lammas is about to take a spot closer to the rail. She gets shut out and she's fair income, going to run in the money. She's going to run in the money for sure there, isn't she, Davici Bell? And she has been blocked for a run, and that's the end of her race. A lot of good runs in the race. Denby Road, Mazzolino. But Davici Bell, drawn barrier number 1 on this race on the weekend, is likely to get a good spot in the race, to be 3 back the fence. I think she looks to be possibly one of the best $31 shots you've got on the race card there. Coming up on Boxing Day is Davici Bell, and certainly shouldn't be at that price.
Very good. I see it's a losing result, Paul. To you, like a bit of a roughie, but Wild Knight, I think BP touched on a very, very salient point there, that if he improves again, which everyone's expecting that he will, you know, where's he going to be?
Super racehorse, isn't he? And Opion. With the inside draw, is the inside draw a help or a hindrance? He'll drop back, won't he? So where will Opie be placed during the race? But got all sorts of class. So, and there are a couple of different form lines to look at coming into this race. Obviously, the Wild Knight with the Start Memorial form line, a number of runners in behind Wild Knight that time in here, and then the Sacred Satono.
Well, the Bone Crusher as well.
The Bone Crusher, we had Sacred Satono, the Intimidator, Kabuji, I'm In to Win. So, yeah, I guess we're going to find out a wee bit more on Boxing Day after the running of the Uncle Remus. Sacred Satono was very, very impressive here and looks a very smart type. And I see we've taken money already as well, now into $4.50. But there was a couple of really, really good runs, and I'm not sure. It just seems wide open.
It's a great race, isn't it?
I understand all the razzmatazz around Wild Knight, but crikey, this looks like a fantastic race.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Looks, I just feel like Sacred Satono, Steve, potentially we don't quite know the ceiling just because of the way the preparation's gone for Sacred Satono. Went up against the older horses a couple of starts back, went very well. Just don't know where the ceiling is with this one.
He's a racehorse. He looked a little bit weak as a juvenile. We've mentioned that a couple of times this season, but as a 3-year-old, he's come back a lot stronger. Sacred Satono. Look, he drew well. He mapped well in the Bone Crusher. Just on the Bone Crusher, it ranked number 1 in terms of a 3-year-old event in this country thus far. But saying that, you weigh up the Sarton, the Soliloquy, Wild Knight's 3-year-old victory 2 weeks ago at Te Rapa. There's probably no more than a length and a half separating those 4 events, so it really is congested. But Sacred Satono, look, he's drawn a wide gate, barrier 11, but I've got no doubt Michael McNabb will show intent, go forward, possibly sit in the first 2 or 3, Sacred Satono. He's shown tactical speed as a 3-year-old this season, and Michael will look to default and take that wide draw out of play in the first 200 to 300 metres on Sacred Satono. And as I mentioned, he's just a real racehorse, number 2. Desert Lightning, interesting runner, hasn't been seen for 51 days after running second the 2,000 guineas. I reckon that price drifts. I reckon at $6.50, and you'll see his performance here in the Group 1 at Rickett in the early stages of November. You also have Al Fritzen, who runs 4th. It was a very gallant performance. It was on speed that day in a race that they did sprint home. They crawled and then sprinted home, so it did suit on-speed runners, but it did really run above betting expectations that day for Chris Wood and the team. But just back on Desert Lightning, I just feel that 51 days separation between that particular event and heading towards Monday's assignment, the lack of money, I reckon it starts 4th, 5th line of betting, probably closer to $10 in this current price of 6.5. And I reckon the Intimidator closes clear third fave because of that form around Sacred Satono and the money that's been on that original winner in Sacred Satono. But yeah, good race with Wild Knight and the price. On figures, there's no way he deserves to be rated a 35% chance at 2.8. But what you're backing around Wild Knight is that X factor which he's showing. And as you mentioned, the ceiling, how high is it? But just on overall figures and what he's produced thus far as a 3-year-old, albeit winning them in a row, he doesn't deserve to be a 35% chance versus the field. But look, money speaks a lot of volumes in this game, and we've had to respond to that. 3 into 280, the traders downstairs. But it'll be intriguing to see his SP with the draw barrier 2. Look, I think they'll want to try and find a neutral position. I don't think they'll want to be any worse in midfield around Wild Knight, Opie Bosson. You go back though, he's a big scopy type BP. All his wins, he's come down the centre of the track, clear air. As I mentioned, he's a big horse. You do have that magic man, Opie Bosson, aboard, but I think an ideal gate maybe around about that 6-7 slot, but barrier 2 just puts a little bit of a variable against him.
Yeah, certainly. But then I guess you just leave it in the hands of Opie, and I'm sure he'll work it out, won't he? But I guess the speed in the race too is interesting, Stephen, because there looks to be a lot of speed elements to this race. You've got horses drawn in barriers 3 and 4 that play a part. The Intimidator, Alfriston, I think too as well. We've seen that horse lead them up at the 2,000 guineas. He's led them up. Most of the time his best performances have been when he's in front. So you'd imagine he's going to use his barrier draw of 4. Academy Awards drawn an outside barrier. There's no jockey yet, but that's a horse who looks to put herself into the race. You've mentioned Sacred Satono, Michael McNabb. Does he want to be positive from barrier number 11? Mazzolino's another one of those horses. So there looks to be good speed in this race with horses that want to be able to take a position here over the 1,400 metres, and that just might mean that Wild Knight keeps away from all that and look, ends up finding himself in a midfield position, one off and sort of 6th position maybe. So yeah. I mean, look, a low draw normally isn't too much of a problem, and with Opie aboard it shouldn't be. So look, this is a super race. It really is a good race with so many different angles. I mean, even that Bone Crusher race with I'm in it to win. I mean, that went a good race, didn't it, Stephen? From a midweek maiden to finish into 3rd position behind 2 horses that are right in the Margaret and Sacred Satono and the Intimidator. That horse is at a big quote sitting around $16. You could really just give a decent shout to every runner here.
Yeah, 100% BP, and you're looking at the disparity potentially around Kabuji and I'm in to win. There's 7-8 points separating them at the moment. Maybe they come close together. Maybe Kabuji drifts 1 or 2 points on race day. Finally draws a gate. Craig Grill's that man aboard. I'll be hoping there's a little bit of intent aboard Kabuji, maybe sit in the first half a dozen with a little bit of cover, 1 out. He's just had a little luck in his last 2 starts. He's been flushed wide, facing the breeze, and been doing his best work in the last 200 metres. But I'm in to win.
Steve.
Yeah, cheers, thank you, and to you. I'm in to win. You're just a real progressive type. Not sure his distance ranges yet, whether he'll get 2,000 metres, probably being by contributor, yes, but on the dam side it's a little bit of a question mark. But in terms of 1,400, there's no knock there.
Channel Surfer? What about Channel Surfer? I mean, this is the best maiden in the country. I mean, I know Jasmine Fawcett had to have a decision between Alfriston and this horse, and look, this horse went super behind Waitac. I mean, look, that's a form reference in itself, isn't it? The Waitac race, the Trevor and Coralie Eagle Memorial. He's run placing in a Hawke's Bay Guineas as well behind Pierre. I mean, where does he fit in the mixture?
Well, I think if Waitac was in the field, BP, you're honestly talking about in the top 2 or 3 and betting clearly Waitac. Look, the race at Te Rapa in itself was probably a couple of lengths inferior to what the other 3-year-old events, a lot of them, or the majority, bounce out of. But, look, Channel Surfer, he can go left, right-handed. He'll rely on tempo, but, yeah, look, you couldn't knock him. Potentially, I think he's in the Kabuji bracket. You may get 2-3 extra points on race day and just a little bit of ease. I can see in the Intimidator lifting to that 3rd fave. Desert Lightning probably starting closer to double figures, and the current price is $6.50. Kabuji, Channel Surfer, maybe giving 1 or 2 points on race day, and maybe a Da Vinci Bell is the horse that finishes in that mid-teen right on the back of the 5 and the 9, the 9 and the 5.
Okay, BP, give it to us. How are you betting into this year's Uncle Remus?
I'm going with Da Vinci Bell. I think she is a horse that is at outrageous odds. I mean, she is a half to Melody Bell, who should have finished closer. Had she finished 3rd or 4th in that race behind Wild Knight, I'm sure we would have seen her at a lot shorter quote than what she is at the opening quote of $31. She should sit, 3 back the rail, get a very quiet run in the race, and if she gets that opportunity and that right split, I think she can win the race at a big quote, and most definitely want to have her as a top 4 bet on the program at around that sort of 450 quote. So yeah, let's roll the dice. Let's go Da Vinci Bell.
I love it.
This market is all over the place.
Yeah,
it's
you
going to
could go
change
1,000 ways, couldn't
the
you?
time we get to Boxing Day. We got Steve saying that Wild
There's movement
Knight
there.
probably isn't a 35% chance, and we've just seen BP saying Da Vinci Bell certainly isn't a
$30 chance.
A 4% chance.
No.
So where do we go? Oh, look, word on the street. Alfriston, connections of Alfriston, they're feeling very, very frisky. So I'll throw that out there. Just say that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they're big fans of the leg up, and they think they're a big chance. And I thought that run in the 2000 Guineas was full of merit. I honestly don't know where to look here.
No.
I'm going to go with Sacred Satono.
Yep.
I'm going to go there, but that could change by the time we hit Boxing Day.
Yep. Okay, team. I've canned Minute with Moati this week because there's no time, and I can see where this hour is going.
We've rambled on, haven't we?
Well, we have rambled on, and we've still got 2 races to get through. But we might be able to pick up a little bit of time here, Steve, because the next race we're going to have a look at is, of course, race number 6 on the card, the ATR 8 Carat Classic. And as I say, we might not have to spend too much time on this one.
Yeah, Legato. She's a star in the making, probably a star already. $1.40 off the original quote, $1.45. She starts no longer than 1.4. I'm confident in saying that, even though we're 2-3 days out. In front of Sassiness at $10. I'm a Rich Girl. Liberasi at $13, each of 2. Nana's Wish at $15. Same quote as Skewif. Val d'Isoldo, the Maidener, at $18 for Wessex, and Bella Tavaci, the best of the rest, at $41. Probably not too much to say other than just crunching a few numbers here. We've ticked over a light turnover race, has to be said at this stage. Roughly around about 4K is the hold when it comes to the 8 carat, and around about 3.5K is on Legato. So it's almost write your own ticket for anything outside the 1.
Yeah, okay, BP. Well, we'll have a look at the 1,000 Guineas straight away because, you know, hopefully we've got a real superstar in the making here, and she's doing everything right, isn't she?
She is. I mean, yeah, what a super performance this was. I mean, you would have to say this is, you know, up there with one of the performances of the year. And what I mean is what happened at the start of the race. I mean, this race was delayed, the broken bridle, you know, she was starting to get a little bit worked up. You know, everyone was feeling a bit anxious. It was on the horse, and I'm sure King Kelso was and watching in the stands, but then she just turns up and delivers this and just blows them away. She's a special racehorse, she really is, and can't wait to see her on Boxing Day. Her exhibition gallop was spot on too. I think they just cleaned her up nicely last Saturday, and yeah, she's drawn barrier number 11. She'll just let things all unfold around her. Ryan will find the right spot and let her roll into the race. And yeah, I look at $1.40 even looks like good shopping, especially for those searching for multis. And it's a race really where there's some nice chances outside of her that can run in the money. Horses like Nana's Wish I really did like. I thought Nana's Wish was good in a 65 graded race against the older horses. Can definitely see that horse finishing in the money. Yeah, you could make a lot of good cases for some of those others to finish in the top 4.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, Librasi and I'm a Rich Girl come out of a eulogy, Paul, and that, you know, that'd have to be some sort of chances, sort of in that 2nd, 3rd, 4th favourite area. It wasn't a bad run.
No, it wasn't the worst, but I mean, Ryan Adler barely touched Legato in that over that final furlong. So I think the rest of the field are running for the podium. And there are a number of very, very good runs. As you say, Librazzi was good. I'm a Rich Girl. I do like the look of her.
Yep.
The one I do like is Skew Whiff. Once again, one that comes out of the Bone Crusher. She blew the start there.
Okay.
She did the same thing the start before that. But she just kept giving in that Bone Crusher. So Skew Whiff, I thought, was a huge run there. Look, she began this campaign with a win. The jockey on board that time was Opie Bosson. Funnily enough, he's back on this time. Look, she gets a wide draw for this one, but I think Opie negates that, and I think she's a huge top 3 chance. Currently 320 for top 3. But yeah, it's very, very hard to look past Legato, and the only question is, where is the ceiling for Legato?
Well, yeah, hopefully pretty high. I mean, are we moving deck chairs on the Titanic here, Steve? I know you've got a little bit of time for Sassiness in the race, and the win Breaking Maidens was pretty impressive.
It was very good. Contrasting track conditions to what it's going to find on Boxing Day, but this was very, very good. Speed rating 4.1 lengths above par. Look, there were 4 mile races that day, 2 other maiden events and a rating 65, and Sassiness Maiden clearly ranked number 1. But when normalised to what it needs to find v Legato, has to find 4 lengths. So, look, I'm not saying she can beat Legato, far from it, but she's the perfect horse to spice in your exotic bet types, your Quinellas, Exactas, etc. And one horse I'm keeping a close eye on what it does on Boxing Day towards the Royal Stakes on New Year's Day over 2,000 metres. Here you see 4.1 lengths above par, the class rating Sassiness. She's by Sacred Falls, so look, she might have wanted a little bit of given the track, maybe a 6. She's probably not going to get that, but I think she can operate well enough on a better track and has that polish of the Forsman stable. So she's one horse I just want to surround her with Legato. Again, I'm not saying she can beat Legato, but she's probably my clear second pick in what is a long tail in the 8 carat, but just want to see what she does for 7 days' time in the Royal Stakes over 2,000 metres.
Okay, well, BP, we're all sort of looking for that Sassiness horse in this race to team up with Legato some way, somehow. What have you found for us, and which way? How would you be attacking it from a betting perspective this year's 8 carat?
Look, you know what? I've got one, and it's a horse that is an extreme roughie in this race and could be a very good chance of running in the money. Now, last year we saw a horse by the name of the High Priestess run second at $8.60 a place. Princess Lowry ran third at around $6.90. Don't be put off by backing a roughie in the 8 carat, and of course these horses, and the one that I'm looking at, could get to the Royal Stakes as well. Kaidu's Pride, runner number 11, it's at $61. This horse is a runner that was very good last time to the races in behind Destiny's Delight. It took an age to pull up. Now, it was in the same race that Voldozoldo ran second, and now Voldozoldo's got a chance of probably getting a sweeter run in the race coming up on Saturday. It's drawn barrier number 2, but look, this horse was right alongside and going past it when pulling up was Kaidu's Pride, and her last 2 runs have been very encouraging to say that she's looking for more distance, and even a race like the Royal Stakes on New Year's Day over 2,000 metres. I might just have a little sneaky top 4 on her at around $4.80 and roll her through a few trifectas and first 4s.
I love it when BP brings the roughies. I love it when BP brings the roughies.
I thought I was pushing the boat out with Skew Whiff. He's gone right over the top of me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's done that a couple of times today.
Yes.
And so for you, Skew Whiff is your sort of horse around Legato?
Yeah. Look, if you back Legato, you're more than likely going to be stuffing your stocking.
With
on
something.
Boxing Day. Yeah, with some, definitely with some.
Yeah.
But outside of Legato, I did think Skew Whiff was a big chance for a top 3.
Yeah, okay. Very good. We've got to push on, guys. Let's hope Legato gets the job done in the way she should in this year's 8 carat classic. Race number 5, guys, on the card is the Hallmark Stud Handicap, Steve, over the 1,200 metres.
Even field, $5 the field, headed by El Vencedor in front of Fashion Shoot at $6. Green Aeon at $6.50. She is that compressed third line with Synchronise and Sassy Merlot. Now, Sassy Merlot has come in 1 point, 7.5 to now trading at 6.5. That's your one firm in the race. Outside that, Rocket Science, Wobie Boston doing the riding for Bryce Revel at $10. La Bella Beals at $12. Shepherd's Delight at $13. And the best of the rest is Funny Girl at $16. But look, it's a slight lead, a very slight lead around number 6, and Sassy Merlot being the one individual that's been a firmer, but a race that's just hasn't had that volume of turnover in the first 48 hours, that is.
Okay, BP, we go from one extreme in a betting sort of market to the other extreme in a betting market, because this is wide open here, the Hallmark.
Oh, hard race. Real hard race, this one, isn't it? I mean, this is your next tier below our Group 1 sprinters this race, and it gives these horses a chance to peel off a nice race at $100,000. Look, there's a lot of angles to take here. I thought Sassy Merlot was probably a chance to go again if you're looking at that run from last time where it was beaten by those Group 1 sprinters. We know how good she was first up. Look, the Hong Kong horse in green, Arion, was super when leading off the front and showing that speed to be able to keep going. But here is the El Vencedor race, and obviously Sassy Merlot. And look, the first 2 winners, first and second in this race are Group 1 horses. And El Vencedor's run third. So just initially, just with what you see here in front of you of paper form, it is the best form, isn't it? And has to carry the 60 kilograms, obviously goes up 6 kilos on this last run. But I guess punters have been a little bit trying to work him out because he went around $1.90 2 starts ago in a race that looked very winnable, and he was beaten on that soft 7 track when he got everything in his favour in front. So it's just a matter of if you're prepared to go off that run and say that he's back to his best form and he has to go up and wait. Could it be a race where you could go exploring as well? That middle market might be the place where punters might look also.
Yeah, okay, Sassy Merlot was pretty short in that market too, quite well backed in that race. The other factor, well, the other interesting runner for me is Green Aeon. Guys, rating 75 win, but back from Hong Kong. What do we know? I mean, this was pretty impressive on the eye.
Very impressive.
And backed up on the clock too, Paul. Gee, he went hard up front. Didn't really know too much about the horse other than just diving into a bit of Hong Kong form and vision, but gee, he was super. He was put straight into the race, led after about a furlong. He just kept up that long sustaining speed. It really did set up for horses worse in midfield, and you see there, Malt Time, etc. coming down the centre part of the track, which again really did suit the second and third horse purely on the race shape, but this horse just kept giving. Look at that, all green. To the 600, 35 and change, and last 600 also 35, just about breaking 35 for the last 600. So, look, a horse that is going to give you a good sight. I'm keen for it. I'm looking for that different angle. I see a lot of these horses. I know where their ceiling is. I've seen them over the last season or two. I'm just not sure about this horse, and I'm willing to take a little bit of a gamble that he could be above average. We see these Hong Kong gallopers come over here. They might be a little bit long in the tooth and seen their best days, but still might be good enough. Green Aeon at $6.50, and I like how he'll put himself in the race. He'll come across, again, Sam Spratt, key engagement for a horse that's drawn wide. Will come across, yes, there's a bit of speed in the race, but he just keeps going. I like that about him, and I'm with him even though he sits in that third line.
Okay, who else you got on your dance card here, Paul? Because and chances, as we say, don't end there, do they?
No, they don't, but I do like El Vencedor. I'm happy to take the form in behind Dragon Leap and Babylon Berlin. I know 60 kilos is a hell of a lot to carry, but I'm going off that form line, so I think he's a big chance. Currently $5. We haven't mentioned Fashion Shoot. Once again, we're leaving out a Tiago runner who's right in the market.
You don't do that.
Look, it's got the wide draw and was in that race with Sassy Merlot, that R75 sprint 2 starts back, and also the open 1200 metres. So Fashion Shoot will be right in it as well. It's, yeah, I don't know. I thought Funny Girl at $16 worth a little stab. All but one, 2 starts back. I'm guessing Vinny will probably go forward from a handy draw and dictate to him. So, yeah, I like El Vencedor, but Funny Girl with a chance.
Yeah, okay, BP. I mean, Rocket Science coming up from the CD. We've got a couple of Tiakau runners there to add to the mixture. It's not easy, is it?
No. A couple of Stephen Ralph runners that that we see each and every week to the races. They'll be there again as well. So I mean, it's just, I find it a very tricky race. Diamond Pegasus drawn barrier number 1. Again, that plays a part in speed. We know that horse loves to go forward, and it's drawn barrier number 1. Green Aeon from out wide. So look, the speed should be on. Yeah, I just found it a really difficult race. I really did. I mean, Green Aeon. The stable confidence wasn't there. They didn't quite have the expectation, and hence why the price drifted. I think you guys kept it safe at around $8 on opening and just continued to drift. He was one horse I wanted to be on at his first up run, and just keep shying away from it. And off the back of his very good trial, I mean, his trial it just looked like it set up nicely for him to win first up, and he's done that, and he's done it well, so why can't he improve second up? So he's the one I'm most fearful of, a little bit like Stephen, with what he's able to produce first up. Can he do it again? I do like Sassy Merlot. I just want to give her another chance. I'm prepared to give her another chance with where she sits at around that sort of $7 or $8 chance. So yeah, Sassy Merlot and Green Aeon for me.
Okay, Paul, what did you have? Funny Girl? Oh, it was a roughie.
Funny Girl is a roughie, but El Vencedor, I think I'll take off that run behind Dragon Leap and Babylon Berlin.
Not the other one, not the $1.90 run where it led up.
Yeah, we're not getting $1.90 this time.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, $5 to find out. Steve, you sound like you're pretty keen on the former Hong Kong galloper. We kept him safe off that trial because, gee, it was impressive, wasn't it?
It was, and I don't think he needs to improve. He just needs to replicate what he produced at Te Rapa, and he'll be a winning chance. Sassy Merlot, I'm just not sure with this horse. I've been a big supporter of this mare, even in a 3-year-old campaign. I still have this inkling that she's better left-handed, and that her right-handed form on paper and just going back visually is well below to what her left-hand ratings are. So she's been over racing right-handed as a 3-year-old, and then we saw in her previous start she was disappointing in terms of market expectations. So I'm not sure. I mean, I think the stable is still weighing up whether she's a sprinter or a miler, and would she contest something like a Rich Hill possibly on the 1st of January? I'm not sure, but I want to see her again right-handed perform that way before it gets some of mine, so I'll go with the 5 Green Aeon.
Okay, very good. Righto, gents, we better wind it up. It's best bet time, BP. We need to fill the stockings. We want to have plenty of ham and pork and lamb for the Christmas table. How are we going to do it? Where's your best bet?
All right, we'll go to the last race on Boxing Day, and we'll go with Denby Road. I think they've done the right thing here to keep away from the Uncle Remus and go for the rating 65 over 1,400 metres. We all saw his run. It was super and behind Wild Knight when finishing on into 3rd position. He gets an extra couple of 100 metres down the big long straight here at Pukekohe Park, and he's a runner that might just set him up nicely for the summer preparation and maybe extend a little bit out further in distance. Top run first up, so I have to be with him. I thought he was a great bet at the race meeting, and so much so he's moved in the marketplace too from 5s to $3.80.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of a move for him already. Pops that, it'll encourage you even more. Very, very good run. Paul, where's your best bet? You might have nicked BP's. He might have been in BP's. Makes your best bet this week, was it?
Who nicked whose? Never
yeah.
mind.
Okay.
Pukekohe Boxing Day, race 2, the 2-year-old's Tokyo Tycoon, winning here at Te Rapa. Look, up against a very smart Tony Pike runner in Penda Bell. But I just love the way that Tokyo Tycoon fought here, and Opie Bosson jumps on this time, so no negative there for mine.
We didn't get a chance to talk about the 2-year-old race, but that's going to have some Karaka Million ramifications.
Yeah, there will be. That market will be having a decent shift either way for horses that run below and run above expectation, but it's a wash race 2.
Okay, and your best bet, Steve, for the weekend?
Yeah, I'll go away Boxing Day and I'll go to Christmas Eve, Harwood, race 3, number 6, Mayola Miss, in the 65 mile. Ridden upside down 2 starts back when beaten by a horse that's gone on with the job and done it at 65 level. Last start here, you're seeing visually a maiden win at Otaki, rated 3.2 lengths above par. Just needs to replicate that number. Jock trainer combo this season with a win percentage of 29, a lot in its favour.
Okay, show wrap-up time. Paul, what promotions do we need to keep an eye on? The Twitter poll as well.
Yeah, we've got
so
the Twitter
the
poll.
boost.
Yeah, that's right. You can head there right now. And the 4 runners we've got, Impenda Bell, Wild Knight, Mary Louise, Buoyant. The top 2 vote getters will be boosted by the bookies. And if you leave a comment, you'll go in the draw to win a $100 bonus bet. Last week's winner was at James Cackett.
Okay, very good. And what else have we got? You're telling me we've got a lot of promotions.
Yeah, we certainly do. Hot Jock is back.
Oh, yep.
And if you're watching live on Thursday morning, it starts today.
Friday even.
Friday, sorry.
Yeah.
Friday. With Michael McNabb being the hot jock today at Matamata. Now, look, the fields have been decimated. I think 5 of his rides have been scratched, but whatever rides he's got today will be the hot jock rides. And then on Boxing Day, it's Lisa Allpress at Otaki. Okay. So head to the Punters Lounge to check out all the T's and C's. Yep. If you want to qualify for hot jock, your first bet on that race has to be on the hot jock ride. Right. Also, bonus back will be on during the holiday period. Look, head to the Punters Lounge on the TAB website because we've done the schedule right up to the 7th or 8th of January. And, of course, no deductions, no surprises, which is huge today with the number of scratchings at Matamata.
Don't talk
Stephen
about
is absolutely...
Don't talk about it. Right, we've got to get in the wind-up here. Thank you, BP. I said they left Legato out of that the poll, the Twitter poll. That was a bit weak, but have a good Christmas, my friend.
Yep, you said it, Thad. Have a great Christmas, team, and can't wait to get there for Boxing Day and the week of racing that is right through New Year's as well. So, have a great Christmas, everyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Merry
Steve.
Christmas to all the leg uppers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of them too. A building army of leg uppers. Merry Christmas, Steve.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody.
We'll look to get some merchandise out next season.
Right, we better go. Have a very, very good festive season. Enjoy Boxing Day. Back a winner. We'll see you again next year.